Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the ELT CPD podcast. Super excited to have Charlie from Charlie's Lessons here today. Hi, Charlie, how are you?
Hi, how's it going? Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. And
No,
yeah, looking
thank
forward
you.
to doing this with you now. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time and coming on to have a chat. I know you're super busy. So maybe we can start by hearing a little bit about you, what you do, and what your background is in terms of ELT.
Okay, well, yeah, I've been working in the ELT industry. I've only been calling it ELT I feel like for the last 6 or 7 years. I was calling it TEFL for most of my time.
Me too.
But
Me
yeah,
too.
started teaching English a long time ago, back in 20, oh my God. A long time ago, let's say. I think it was in Thailand when I started, then South Korea. Then I moved back to where I'm from, which is Bath in the UK. Did my CELTA course, and then I was ready to go to Spain, which is where I've been since 2011. This pretty much that whole time I've been in Spain, I've been working with International House schools in Seville and Cadiz, which is where I am now. And so now I'm the DOS at Click Cadiz. Click International House Cadiz is a full name. And so I'm the Director of Studies of the Foreign Languages Department. I do teach as well. I teach children, teens, adults, and also in my free time, I make videos for a YouTube channel called Charlie's Lessons, which is it started as a YouTube channel. Now I have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all under the same name. So a lot of what I do gets produced and shared all over all those platforms. But it all started on YouTube, and I make videos for English teachers. And I like to think that my focus is on technology in the classroom, but it could be I cover lots of different things, lots of things that I just think would be useful for an English teacher. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So
Perfect. And how do you find juggling all of those three things? Because, well, two things, but three things. So,
yeah,
yeah,
it
how do
it
you manage your
I
time?
Yeah, well, it really is. It's dictated by the time of year. So, right now we're in August, at the time of the recording, but next month we start kind of the peak of the year for my job as a DOS in the school.
Mhm.
So September to October is a really important time of year because we've got the new students coming in, and we're starting a new academic year. With my YouTube channel, it's again, I can put it aside and pick it back up again because it's always there. I'd say that my rate of uploading videos was a lot higher when I first started because it was new and I was really excited and I was really happy. But now I was still happy now, but I don't make as many videos now as I used to, which is seems to be okay at the moment. So yeah,
That's good.
but
That's
yeah, it can be. You just have to realize that it's impossible to be doing everything at once, and some things you got to some things take priority, and you have to learn how to when's the best time to focus on one thing and then focus on the other. So yeah.
Of course, absolutely. So I guess we'll start with thinking about your role. Let's go with your content creation role first. So you said
Hmm.
you're quite interested in sort of technology in the classroom. So how
Yeah.
have you found that that's evolved over the last few years since you started, sort of the tech that was
Hmm.
available that teachers were using then compared to now, which has obviously evolved very quickly?
Yeah. I'd say that I think the software that is available for teachers has now really started to explore everything a teacher needs. And I think when I think when teachers start using technology in the classroom, from my point of view, it was a lot of just games and quizzes, and just things that you could just pick up and use, and just it might take a few minutes or 10 minutes to play a game in class. But now, I think the technology is starting to reach to other areas of work that teachers need help with, and it could be anything from building communities online with your students, or creating materials for your class, or also it could be I'm trying to think now. Yeah, just trying to really give teachers save teachers time in not just helping them with activities in the classroom, but also just things that maybe outside of class as well. So I think it's become kind of global, really. It exists. You can find, you seem to be able to find a tool that does everything a teacher could do, which is why everyone's a bit worried, I think, because it's starting to fill the role that, feel like teachers feel a bit threatened, I think, sometimes in the classroom now with all the technology available. So yeah.
And do you notice that among some of your teachers as well, or is there sort of a willingness among your staff to use this technology in the classroom? Obviously, depending on the capabilities in your classrooms themselves.
No, I think with the teachers that work at my school, the moment you offer them something or you share something that they can use in class, that's ready made, that's packaged, and just they can just take it into class, and it's gonna solve them a problem, it's gonna help them do something in the classroom in a different way, they're really keen to use it, and they've got no qualms about taking that and taking it into the classroom. I think those doubts or those concerns about the role of technology in the future when it comes to teaching, I think a lot of teachers just living day to day and are not really thinking about that. And I think that's more for just the people kind of maybe in the management positions or people running schools. That's probably a problem for them to think about. I think teachers, as we both know, they've got very little time to plan, and they're more interested in doing as many classes as possible. And so I think when you're able to present to teachers technology that can save them time, that can give them that can make their class a bit more fun, and maybe give that, it kind of has that novelty value to it, I think teachers they're all for it. So from my experience, I think most of the time the technology is quite welcome in the
Mhm.
classroom. Yeah.
And obviously, you work for International House, so it's an international company, right? But do you have to have policies within your individual institutions for AI, or is it sort of a company-wide thing?
With AI, we haven't got to that stage yet where it's been adopted across departments or in the classroom yet. It's very much, I would say, we're at an early stage there, especially particularly with the schools that I work at, which are Click, which comprises of 3 schools. So we are part of the International House Organization, but primarily we're this chain of schools called Click. And so
Mhm.
within our where we work, I'd say that AI is still in its early stages, and while it's becoming clear that it can be helpful for not only teachers but also people working in administration or management, I don't think it's become, I don't think enough people know about it yet, or it's not being used enough yet for us to warrant a policy yet. I think we'll probably get to that stage soon, because as I said, like there's just more and more available, more and more tools that are available now that can do so many different things. I think we'll get there eventually, but right now, yeah, we haven't got to that stage yet.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I think it's definitely geography specific as well, isn't it? Because I
Yeah,
think obviously being based in the UK, I see a lot of, oh my goodness, like you said, right? Teachers are scared, teachers are worried about it, and I do a lot of things with sort of Peru and Latin America, and they're sort of nervous about it as well. But it hasn't quite developed, perhaps in the same way as it has in certain other aspects of ELT, sort of
sure.
like materials writing, maybe automating things as well. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
definitely sector specific, but also
I
role
think,
specific.
yeah, I think as well, language. I think AI obviously is primarily an English language tool, I guess. I think a lot of the tools that become available for teachers are usually in English, and
Mhm.
so it's not necessarily available perhaps in Spanish. And so I think because we also have a Spanish language department in our school, so the teachers that work in those departments actually don't have access to, or don't have the fortune of being able to use some of these tools in their class, because there aren't Spanish versions available.
Mhm.
So I guess that's also meant that its introduction into the classroom has been a bit slower, I think, as well. I think obviously in ELT and perhaps in the Western English speaking world, it's probably advanced a lot more, and that's why we're probably talking about policies and how to use it. But I think yeah, I think there are some tools there that are not available in all languages, so that's going to take time.
Definitely. Have you ever tried using it in Spanish? Have you ever tried to generate any text in Spanish? I'm not sure how good your Spanish is, but I'm assuming you've got a good level.
Yeah, I have, and there's definitely some. I think it might err on this on the side of Latin Spanish. So again, for the um, Castilian Spanish speakers, that sounds a bit. It reads obviously they can notice that, so it seems a bit not alien, but it definitely seems foreign, um,
Hmm.
and I feel like as well that there is. I'm not sure if there's much. There might be some direct translation going on as well. I think some software perhaps has just made that decision just to translate literally. Sometimes I think some of the expressions that come through are not very Spanish sounding, and I think
Hmm.
again that kind of that creates that impression where I think some of my colleagues are not really that convinced about using it. I think that happens with the English language versions as well. Sometimes you read it and you think that doesn't sound like something anyone would ever say.
No, no, exactly, like really formal,
Yeah,
archaic language, so,
a lot of repetition
um,
of language as well, which you kind of
exactly,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. And even if you try to amend it, sometimes that'll just take longer than actually just writing it for yourself.
yeah, yeah.
So, and think it's staying along the lines of AI, what about your role as a DOS? Do you find that you are able to use any tools to help you, perhaps with automation or perhaps, I don't know, for any other admin purposes, for example?
I'd say that there are some. I mean, something I was thinking of examples for a colleague the other day, and I think I remember one of the first things I did with a chat generative text, which I think I used ChatGPT, was I got it to create attendance sheets in the sense that we have classes that work on they have a rota, so Monday and Wednesday throughout the entire year, and I usually have to do this by hand, so I have to look at the calendar and say, okay, which days are Monday and Wednesday, and what I did was I just said to ChatGPT, okay, for the academic year from September this date to June this date, tell me which dates are the Mondays and Wednesdays of this year, and and I just copy and paste that, and that was a job that would have taken me, a long time, and so
Yeah.
that was something really simple. I think ideas as well, like I think as being a DOS, it's quite a lonely job in the sense that you don't really get much feedback. You don't have someone like next to you just to kind of bounce ideas off or problems that you might have to kind of think up solutions. So um, I think a lot of DOSers out there are usually working on their own, and so especially in
Okay.
smaller schools. And so what it can be useful for sometimes is kind of presenting problems to either it could be ChatGPT, it could be Google Gemini, and saying, okay, what would you do in this situation? Or give me some suggestions or proposals on how you would solve or how you go about fixing this problem. And it seems quite kind of it seems like a strange thing to ask. It's quite sometimes it can be quite a situation that requires a lot of context, a lot of background information, but it can work quite well in just giving you some things that you might not have thought about. And I think that can be really helpful as well, because I think sometimes it can be difficult to think outside the box a little bit, and so that's
Mhm.
helped with some situations that I've been in, either with teachers or students, and just explaining the situation and say, how would you resolve this, and just and kind of maybe also often I might assign teachers certain classes, maybe private classes that are very specific with a student who has a very specific need, and so um, AI tools can be very good at creating custom-made materials for a class that just don't exist out there. So that's been
Mhm.
helpful, and I think not all my teachers are familiar with AI tools or using this software, and so if I am, then I can sit them down and go through it with them, and that helps as well as my job as a DOS, because I need to support the teachers, so that's a good way of supporting them. Yeah.
For sure. And so do you personally, or is it within your sort of school, provide CPD to the teachers on things like this? Or do you just say, go to my YouTube channel?
There is, there is. Sometimes I do think about that. I think, should I just make a video about this and just send it out, or should I send my latest video out to them? I think some of them do follow me anyway, so they do pick up on things, but I don't necessarily talk about ideas or tools that they could use perhaps in their class, so it's not always relevant. But yeah, but I think we do. I think once I'm really clear that something is going to be useful for their situation, and something I think is really important for me as well, that I share a tool or an idea, or in this case, an AI tool that's going to be useful for the majority of teachers in the school. So, I think a lot of us know, well, a lot of teachers often complain about when they go to training sessions or conferences that it all sounds all well and good, but it's like it's not for me, or I personally can't use that in my classroom, so it feels like you're kind of wasting your time a little bit. So, I think I have to be really like certain that I can take that tool and say, okay, this is going to be really useful for like everyone in this room. And I think that
Mhm.
after that's often the acid test. And so once I have a tool like that, I will organize, a meeting between teachers and share that and go through that with them.
I was going to say, what's an example of a tool that probably wouldn't be appropriate to certain contexts?
I think there's a lot, for example, there's a lot of really great AI tools that create presentations in,
Mhm.
in a matter of minutes. But Um, I think some teachers, I understand why. I think they're against perhaps using presentations in the classroom because I think they're very teacher centered, and the teacher
Mhm.
leads them. And I think they're also not particularly appropriate for some age groups. I think I'm just thinking about your younger students. Perhaps they don't really want to be sat there watching you going through a presentation. It doesn't really make sense. And so,
Yeah.
although those kind of tools are perfect for some of the things that I have to do, like maybe meeting with other businesses or meeting with schools and kind of being able to go through a certain project, and present that, and maybe it could be useful for some classes. But yeah, I think that would be an example perhaps of something that just maybe is not, it looks good, it works, but it's not appropriate for the teachers in my school.
Exactly. Or sometimes it just doesn't look good.
Oh yeah, yeah,
There are some presentation tools that AI generated presentation tools. I was playing around with one the other day, and I think I typed in a prompt, and it just came up with great design, but the images were like,
yeah.
I wanted to do something about food, I think, and it was like an Oliver Twist image, and I thought that's not the route I want to go
No,
down
no.
at this point.
And all the text,
So
and sometimes the text is just, it just goes into something and you can really really detail, but just something completely unrelated to what it is you've asked for. Yeah,
exactly. And I spoke about this with the last guest on the previous episode, that a lot of AI tools are powered by GPT,
yeah,
and if GPT is the base that we're working off, if it doesn't work when we're using that,
exactly.
it's not going to work in these other tools. So
I think if you've had experience
exactly.
using GPT and other contexts, just through text generation, then as soon as you start using these other tools, you realize very quickly that it's just pulling from GPT. And
Mhm.
the way it's just essentially what it's done. It's just honed in on a certain prompt that it will ask, and that's how it's getting that answer. But you can pick that up quite
Exactly.
quickly. Yeah.
Exactly. And do you use any AI tools for your content creation? Obviously, like you can schedule things on YouTube in advance and things, but have you found any tools that help you?
Um, Yeah, I mean, again, idea generation is a really good way of, coming up with ideas for content. I think even just things like titles for videos. I think coming up with some keywords. Okay, so this video is about this. What kind of title would you give this video? I think now I'm a bit clear on what's required for a title, just from doing it over and over again. But I think at the beginning that was really useful to be able to kind of say to ChatGPT, saying, what would be a typical YouTube title for a video of this description. I think as well something that I found really useful has been that, YouTube specifically is, it creates these subtitles, automatic subtitles for your videos, and obviously, as we know, providing subtitles on your videos just makes it just a little bit more accessible for people. And something else I'm not sure people are aware of, but those very subtitles will actually form the basis for search sometimes. So the things that
Mhm.
you're saying in your video can be picked up as part of a keyword search from a user perhaps. So having that corrected and there is an important part of your video. And so the problem is obviously when those automatic subtitles are created, the English, the punctuation is not correct, maybe there's some misspellings. And so what you can do is you can copy and paste that entire transcript into something like ChatGPT or Gemini and say, very clearly, this is a transcript from a video I made. I just want you to correct. I only want to correct the English. Do not change the content at all. Do not deviate from the script. Just correct the English. And so I would pop that into the AI tool, and it would come out with a complete transcript, but just corrected. And so then I could just copy that in, and it just makes the video seem a bit more professional then, because when they
Mhm.
turn on subtitles, and then obviously as YouTube will sometimes, when you have other languages available, it's just translating from English. So from the video language, it will then translate to Spanish, to German, to French. And so if you've got that base language correct, then that's going to make the translation also better. And
Yeah,
so that would, again, like, can you imagine copying an entire script and going through that word by word and making corrections? Like, geez, like how long would that take?
absolutely.
If
Yeah.
you've got like 200 videos, then yeah, you're talking about a long
It's
time. So
Yeah, of course. I mean, even like I started this podcast in 2021, and obviously technology was completely different then. And I had been meaning to do subtitles on all of those videos, especially when we started doing the videos on YouTube as well. But there was just no possible way of me doing it fast enough.
yeah,
I
yeah,
tried things like Google Docs, sort of like a text to speech or a speech to text, and
yeah,
it just took forever. Now, luckily, the platform that I use to record these podcasts has automatic transcript generation from what we're saying. It
yeah,
removes our filler words, it removes everything. And once it removes it from the script, it also removes it from the video automatically.
yeah.
And it's just
That's a
absolutely
great tool.
wonderful.
That's a great tool. Yeah,
So good, and it was just like a bonus, "Do you want to add this on?" And it was free, and I thought, "Oh, I'm not sure about that, but I'll do it." And now it's a game changer because, the subs are instantly generated. And like you said, back in the day, subtitles on YouTube were just absolutely
yeah. I
horrendous,
know
weren't
some of them were terrible.
yeah, they weren't even words
Yeah,
that or just were
yeah,
completely not what we were saying whatsoever. So yeah, that's really, really good. And do you think that these tools have helped you grow? Because obviously you have a very large following now, like over 16,000 subscribers. Or do
yeah.
you think that's because you've just put a lot of time into it?
I think that no, I think there are. Well, I don't know if that's really AI. Yeah, no, I think there are certain things, I think, like that probably would have
Mm,
would have contributed to the overall kind of impression that the channel makes on people when they watch a video. I think just thinking about particularly about AI tools in that journey. Again, when I first started the YouTube channel in 2021, it wasn't, AI tools weren't really around like they are now. So
yeah,
um, I'm just trying to think of other AI tools. I mean, yeah, automatic transcription is a good thing. I think for my vertical, like short form videos that I make for TikTok, perhaps, the video editing tool CapCut would can well, actually now it's a pro feature actually, but it used to be able to do automatic captions, and so
hmm
um, and you could provide like AI effects, so it would kind of pick up on
hmm
certain words and make it like maybe more prominent. And I think, again, it maybe wasn't absolutely essential for the video to be successful, but it might have contributed in a certain way. Um,
yeah.
um,
Have you found any video tools that you found useful for, like, because obviously you said you record mainly on YouTube, but you also do sort of TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and they all are different sizes, different qualities,
mm,
also different lengths, different shapes. Like, do you have one video and then use a tool to condense it, or do you literally record different videos for different
no, no.
platforms?
So TikTok is where everything for short form content, so the vertical format that you see on, like, you watch on a mobile phone. Um, the all the content starts on TikTok. So by that I mean that um, I'll record the video. It will get I'll put it into Premiere Pro, which is just the software that I'm most comfortable with when it just comes to editing a video. But then I'll also go through CapCut, which just adds some features that will probably be that you kind of need to put on when you're using it for social media. So, like I said, captions, maybe a title, and just obviously CapCut is designed for videos that are going on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and so on. So
Mhm.
um, those short form videos will go through CapCut after going through Premiere Pro, but then that same video will go onto TikTok, onto Instagram, onto LinkedIn, everywhere. And I'm never making individual videos for those platforms. And
Mhm.
obviously the horizontal format, the YouTube videos, I'll just stick with Premiere Pro there. And so,
Mhm.
but then that will just go straight onto YouTube, and that won't go anywhere else because,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not using any other platform to post that kind of content. I used to do a
Mhm.
lot of taking horizontal format videos on YouTube and cutting that into shorts or TikTok style videos. But again, that was very time consuming. But as from looking around, there are now AI tools, the same kind of AI tool that will cut out those fillers for you. And
Yeah.
those gaps, that will also do the same thing for a longer video. It'll chop it up into smaller pieces.
Mhm.
And again, sometimes it's not particularly accurate, and sometimes it will just it will make cuts in the video that are not don't make much sense. But again, I think that again, like everything, is getting better. So yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, that's the trend now, right? Like, have you seen the trend that's going around where you have, it might be a TikTok thing, I don't have TikTok, but where you get someone to cut your video and they just cut you
yeah.
breathing?
I want someone to do that for me. I want someone to make that one for me.
I'll happily do it if you want
it's
to. I'll do it from this episode just with us breathing.
it's just doing the opposite, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah,
So yeah, just
exactly.
keep.
It's taking out the words
Yeah,
and just having the bit before.
yeah. I'd love to see
Yeah.
myself doing doing that.
Yeah, awful, awful. I was editing some videos yesterday, and that's all I could hear
Yeah,
was just the
yeah,
breathing before you start speaking, but,
yeah.
so, yeah, what's your top tool? Thinking with your DOS hat, your teacher hat on, what's your top tech tool, whether it's AI, whether it's not AI, what's your top tech tool that you think teachers must use?
So I really like being able to read what my students are saying, or
Okay.
what my students have said. So I'm a big fan of transcripts, and so
Mhm,
I'll use that a lot as well in the classroom. Just with when I'm doing listening tasks, I always like to do the listening task and then give them the transcript and really kind of dissect what we heard, what we didn't hear, and how some words were pronounced, and trying to identify where their understanding broke down. What was the reason
mhm,
for that? And also when we're doing speaking tasks, I've got into the habit now of recording my students when they speak, and
mhm,
just what we've been talking about now. There are a lot of tools that can transcribe audio files very accurately, and one that I found recently, which I actually posted on my TikTok channel, and it got a lot of views. It was very popular, and it's called skeleton fingers for some reason.
strange.
Very strange. When you search for it, you might get images of actual skeleton fingers coming up. So just go for the first one that comes up. But you can record audio from a URL, so it's a link from a website. You can record from a file directly from your computer, so you just upload an MP3 or whatever. And then also you can record from the microphone, either on your mobile phone or on your desktop computer. And so what I've done is I've transcribed what my students have said, and then I've been able to put it into another website, which is like one of these text analyzers, which we usually use for writing work. But I've used it for this, and it kind of gives you an approximation of a CFR level of what the student have
Mhm,
said. And also, there's another website called Vocab Kitchen, which actually identifies the CFR level of every word they've said, and you can kind of see from looking at the text as a whole what kind of how advanced the vocabulary was the students use. And so I
mhm,
like kind of that visualizing what they've said in a way, because I don't know about you, but and I think some other teachers have said this as well, that when you're doing speaking tasks with your students, especially when you're having to assess them at the same time, you kind of get a bit. There are times where you switch off, or times when you're trying to focus on are they answering the question, or trying to give them a mark
yeah,
for a band that they're supposed to
yeah,
be, as being assessed in. And I think with doing this, it can give you that kind of second chance, to
mhm,
really listen to, or in this case read what they've said. And
Yeah.
so I'm a big fan of transcribing students' spoken work. So this particular website, I kind of really like that, and it's AI powered as well. So
And so would you transcribe it at the moment of speaking, or would it be you record it and then ingest it into this
yeah, I would
platform?
usually record it and then go away and upload it onto the website, and then have that transcription um,
Got it.
ready to kind of assess at a later date. Yeah.
Nice, and then give the feedback sort
Exactly.
of
Yeah. And that's again for the student. It's kind of, look, this is exactly what you said.
Mhm,
And I think as well, a lot of students don't really like hearing themselves back as well. So just
mhm.
showing them it rather than having to listen to it back,
Of
I think a
course,
lot of people don't really like hearing their own voice. So having it just written down can be quite useful, actually.
definitely. What about you? When you do your videos, do you watch them back? Obviously, after editing them.
I'm so used to it now. I don't even notice. I'm the kind of person though that also listens back to their WhatsApp like audio messages.
All of them or just a couple?
No, just when I've sent an audio message, I'll listen back. Do you do that?
Occasionally, only if I'm overthinking something.
Yeah, I'll do that just to make sure I've actually said what I want to say, whether it makes sense. And
That's
I know people that will think I'm really weird for doing that, but then I've also met people that do it exactly the same thing.
Do you listen to it at normal speed or times 2 speed? Because when you listen to it at times 2 speed, that's when it's scary because it's so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. It's no, I listen to it normal speed, but I'm always impressed to when you only put it double speed, you can still completely understand what's
Yeah,
being said.
yeah.
That's really weird.
Depends on the person that sent it to you, depends how
Yeah,
fast you have to listen to
yeah,
it,
that's
I
true.
guess. And what about the future? What do you think the future of all of this AI technology within education holds? That's a very big question, but what are your thoughts?
Um, yeah, I think just as we touched on at the beginning of the podcast, I think obviously there are some voices out there that express that they're kind of a fear, a concern about where it's heading. There's a thought out there that we're kind of feeding this big machine that's eventually going to take over. Um, I still think we're still at a very, very early stage of AI. I think if you think about, I know that it seems that we seem to, I know it seems we're making these advancements, these developments very quickly in comparison to previous things that have happened over the course of history. And I think over the last 2-3 years, AI has suddenly just burst onto the scene, and I think we're still at a very early stage where we can't really be absolutely sure what role it's going to have. I think in education,
Mhm,
I think right now a lot of people are very happy to adopt it, and I think a lot of from what I've seen, that teachers are, if they know it's going to help them save time, it's going to provide their students with some with a new and different way of working on something in class. I think teachers are all for it, but I think perhaps what we might see is that a lot of teachers might start opposing its use in the classroom.
mhm,
Much like, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not really absolutely sure this was the case when it happened, but I'm sure when technology in its very early stage, when it first started getting introduced in the classroom, there were people that didn't want to either. I'm just thinking some of, like, just using websites, or even just the use of mobile phones in the classroom.
yeah,
That, I guess, at the very beginning there wasn't much opposition to that, but now you can see that schools are very much opposed to using mobile phones in the classroom. So yeah. So the answer is, I don't know.
who does know? I don't think anybody knows at this point, and I'm sure if we were to re-record this in even a month's time, 2 months' time,
Yeah,
things would be completely different, so
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. How can anyone find you if they want to get in touch with you or find some of your videos?
So Charlie's Lessons is the name of all my social media handles. So if you go onto any of the platforms that you use, it could be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, actually, as well. I don't know why, but I'm there. If you want to find me on there. But yeah, so I would, if you're gonna kind of really get an idea about what I'm doing, I would go to my YouTube channel. That's where the majority of my content is. But then also TikTok, It's also, I think those are the two places where I've built up the biggest communities. So yeah, YouTube or TikTok.
Perfect. And thank you so much for making time and taking time out of your busy day. I know we're heading into September, so it'll be a busy time for you in the run up to school, as you said.
It
But
will be, yeah.
thank you for
But
sharing.
maybe AI will help me this time.
Maybe it will, and not replace us, just help us.
Very good, very
Thank
good.
you so much. And thank you to everyone for listening to this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on socials at ELTCPD for more upcoming podcast episodes. Thanks, everyone. Bye.